You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 134.2, our weekend review for all girls basketball teams in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties, with our weekly honors and our top 20 power poll, and interviews with Tipton head coach Lela Gillman and Kokomo head coach Haley Peckinpaugh.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report, we hope 2025 is your best year ever. Today is January 1st, 2025. It's a Wednesday. It's New Year's Day, but it's still a day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengel, and I love Central Indiana sports, coming to you today from headquarters in Jeffersonville. Producer Susie is in the control room as usual. Welcome to the Girls Basketball Weekend Review, where we'll update you on what's happening in the CIC, the Hoosier Conference, the Hoosier Heartland, the Hoosier Heritage, the North Central Conference, the Mideastern Conference, the Pioneer, and the Three Rivers Conference, with updates on every girls basketball team in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties. Then we will announce the Central Indiana Sports Report weekly honors, our performance, player, coach, team, and win of the week, and our top 20 power poll. Later Wednesday, or more likely Thursday morning, sorry so late on these weeks in review, we're already halfway through the next week, but it's a holiday, and I'm sure you understand I'm a little bit behind. On Friday morning, we will start getting back to our daily scoreboards. Things will get back to normal, and I'll get caught back up, and everything will go back to schedule. Along with the boys' week in review, we'll also have podcasts about the Pacers, Colts, college football, and Will Rutherford's 5 questions that need answers live from the Rose Bowl this week. And we also are going to have some special guests coming up this weekend. It was a light week last week, but there was still plenty of basketball to talk about. We start, as we always do, in the CIC. Oak Hill stands alone at the top of the CIC, a half game ahead of Alexandria. Oak Hill is 12-1 overall, 4-0 in the CIC. Alexandria is ranked third in Class 2A, is 16-0, and is 3-0 in the CIC. Mississinawa's 4-8 overall, 2-1 in conference. Elwood 9-3, 2-2. Frankton 5-8, 1-2. Eastbrook is 4-8 overall, 1-3 in the conference. Madison Grant's 3-10 and 1-3, and Blackford is 1-13 and 0-3. We start at the top of the standings with Class 2A number 14 Oak Hill. The Golden Eagles are 12-1. Their most recent game was a 42-18 win over Frankton on December 21st. 8th straight win. This weekend they are at Madison Grant for the Grant 4 tournament. That's on Saturday. It starts with 4-8 Eastbrook in the semifinal round on Saturday morning. Class 2A number 3 Alexandria is 16-0 overall, 3-0 in the CIC. They are your Casey Polins Memorial Invitational champion after winning 3 games at Richmond over the weekend. First, the Tigers beat Jacksonville 87-29. That was on Friday. Senior Jacqueline Hoosier, crazy performance. 33 points, 12 of 14 from the field. Yes, 33 points on 14 field goal attempts. 6 of 7 from the three-point line, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and 7 steals. Have a feeling that'll come up in the performance of the week. Senior Lily Harp had 10 points and 9 rebounds, along with 3 steals. Sophomore Stella Griffin had 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals. On Saturday morning, the Tigers beat Charlestown 64-63 in double overtime. It's the first time all year they had to come from behind for a win, and it was the team's first overtime win since beating Frankton 55-48 in the Madison County tournament in January of 2023. That's now 2 years ago, people. Hoosier had 19 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals. Senior Riley Kellums had 14 points. She was 7 for 8 from the field and also had 6 rebounds. Freshman Conley Davidson had 8 points, 4 rebounds, and Griffin had 8 points. She made both of her 3-point attempts. Then in the championship game on Saturday, again, the Tigers had to come from behind to beat Richmond 49-45. Hoosier had 25 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. Harp had 9 points, 3 steals, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Kellums finished with 7 points and 5 rebounds. Alexandria is next at 1-14 Anderson in the opening round of the Madison County tournament on Monday. On Saturday night, I spoke with Alexandria head coach Mickey Hozier about the team's championship. Please go back and check out that one. That was the scoreboard for Saturday's games. Mississinawa is 4-8 overall, 2-1 in the CIC. In their only game last week, they lost 59-33 at Huntington North on Saturday. The game was tied after the first quarter. Then the Indians were outscored 13-2 in the second and 21-7 in the third. Senior J.C. Crick had 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals. Senior Emma Wakeman had 7 points and 3 rebounds. And senior Avery Wilson had 4 points and 4 rebounds for Mississinawa. This weekend, the Indians will take part in the Grant 4 tournament at Madison Grant. They start against the hosts, who are 3-11. Mississinawa just beat the Argyles 52-18 last week. That game is Saturday morning at 10 a.m. The consolation game is at 6:30. The championship is at 8:15. Elwood enters 2025 at 9-3 overall, 2-2 in the conference. Their last game was a 42-30 win over Blackford at home. They have a 3-game winning streak to end 2024. Next week, Elwood hosts 1-2 Liberty Christian on Monday in the opening round of the Madison County tournament. Then they will be either at 9-4 Anderson Prep or 5-8 Frankton in Thursday's semifinal round. Speaking of Frankton, they are 5-8 overall, 1-2 in the CIC. Their last game was a 42-18 loss to Oak Hill. They've lost 4 times in their last 5 games. This week, the Eagles are at 10-5 Frankton, or 10-5 Kokomo on Friday. Next week, they host 9-4 Anderson Prep in the opening round. Likely, they will host 9-3 Elwood in the semifinals next Thursday. Eastbrook is 4-8 overall, 1-3 in the CIC. Their last game was a 49-27 win over Blue River Valley to end a 3-game losing streak last Saturday. They also, of course, will participate in the Grant 4 tournament. They face 12-1 Oak Hill in the first round. In the second semifinal at Madison Grant. That game will be approximately 11:45 a.m. And speaking of Madison Grant, they are 3-10 overall, 1-3 in the CIC. Their last game was a 52-18 loss to Mississinawa on December 21st, and that's who they play again in the first round of the Grant 4 at home. That game's at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Again, the final round at 6:30 and 8:15 at Madison Grant. Blackford is 1-13 overall, 0-3 in conference. Their only game last week was a 55-29 loss to Monroe Central. They have lost 12 games in a row. This weekend, Blackford is at the Union City Invitational. It's a 7-team, 2-day, 3-game field. It opens with 9-4 Clinton Central in the first round at 11 a.m. Friday. The second round will be against either 3-8 Centerville or 7-6 Fort Wayne Blackhawk at 4 if they lose and at 5:30 if they win on Friday. The other side of the bracket features 4-9 Union City, 2-10 Adams Central, and 3-9 Blue River Valley. To our only independent, which is Lapel. The Bulldogs did not play this past week. Their last game was a 48-39 win over Monroe Central on December 19th, their 5th win in a row. This week, the Bulldogs host Winchester actually on Thursday. Winchester is 6-6. Next week, the Bulldogs are at 8-6 Pendleton Heights in the opening round of the Madison County tournament on Monday. That's the big one, Monday. In the second round, they will face either unbeaten Alexandria or 1-14 Anderson on the road. A look at the Hoosier Conference standings. The East Division, Hamilton Heights is tied with Western at the top. Both are 1-0 in conference. Um, Hamilton Heights is 4-11 overall, Western 3-11. Logansport is 2-13 overall, 1-1 in the conference, and Tipton is 2-13 overall, 0-2 in conference. In the Hoosier Conference West, Class 2A number 5 Rensselaer Central is on top. They are 13-1, 2-0 in the Hoosier Conference. Rensselaer hosts Lafayette Central Catholic in a big one on Saturday. Benton Central is 12-5 overall, 2-1 in conference. West Lafayette is 3-10 overall, 1-1 in conference. Central Catholic is 12-3 and has not played a conference game yet. Twin Lakes is 4-12 and 0-3. As I just mentioned, Hamilton Heights is 4-11 overall, 1-0 in the Hoosier Conference. The Huskies finished third at a tournament at Waldron. They lost 52-19 to Union County on Saturday. Senior Katie Brown, sophomore Presley Cherry, and freshman Sarah Sherrill scored 5 points apiece. Brown also had 5 rebounds. Cherry had 2 rebounds and 2 steals. On Saturday evening, the Huskies beat Waldron 61-58. Brown had 19 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Sherrill had 13 points and 17 rebounds, also 3 block shots. Cherry finished with 12 points and 8 rebounds, 5 of those on the offensive end. And freshman Abby Hilfiger had 10 points and 4 rebounds. Next week, the Huskies are at 6-6 North Miami on Tuesday, January 7th. Western is 3-11 overall, 1-0 in the Hoosier Conference. The Panthers finished 7th at an invitational at Carroll. They lost 53-38 to University on Friday, 64-56 to Western Boone on Saturday, then beat Tipton 50-33 in the 7th place game. That win ended a 9-game losing streak for Western. The Panthers are at 3-10 West Lafayette on Saturday. Tipton is 2-13 overall, 0-2 in the Hoosier. They finished in 8th place at Carroll. They lost 64-18 to Northside Homeschool on Friday. In the loss, the Blue Devils had 25 turnovers. Sophomore Mackenzie Farinella had 5 points and made her only 3-point attempt. She also had 5 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 assists. Sophomore Kennedy Lancaster had 4 points and made 1 for 2 3-point attempts. Freshman Shelby Fernung had 4 points and 5 rebounds. And sophomore Holland Wilson finished with 3 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. In its second game on Friday, Tipton lost to host Carroll 55-22. Farinella had 10 points. She was 4 for 7 from the field and 2 for 4 from the 3-point line. She also had 5 rebounds. Wilson finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds, and Lancaster had 4 points. The Blue Devils lost 50-33 to Western on Saturday. It was their second loss of the season to Western, but last time, November 22nd, they lost by 37 points, this time just 17. Farinella finished with 12 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Sophomore Michaela Scheinlob had 8 points on 3 of 5 shooting, with 4 rebounds and 4 steals. Vernung had 7 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. And Wilson had 4 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Tipton is off until next week when they host 4-8 Mississinawa on Tuesday, January 8th. They are also at 3-10 Madison Grant the following night, Wednesday, January 9th. I spoke with Tipton head coach Lela Gillman about her team on New Year's Eve and her birthday.
We went up to Carroll. We did go 0-3, but we learned a lot and we grew a lot as a team over the 2 days. To Northside Homeschool. We went into that game not knowing anything about that school. They had a bunch of guards, played very fast, but I thought that we did a very good job of thinking next play during that game, keeping our mind right, focusing on our defense, and just doing our best. Next up, we had Carroll, the host of the the tournament, and
Well,
they're a
that's
solid
that's
team.
an awfully tough team to play in the consolation bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. They're a tough team that plays really, really hard. Um, has some good parts and pieces. They have very high tempo um, defense, but I think that we handled it fairly well. We didn't have too many turnovers that game. Um, we really worked hard as a team together. Um, and then our last game, we had the opportunity to play Western again in an early morning game on Saturday. And we went in that game just focused on what we could control and what we could do. Earlier in the season, we lost to Western by like 40 points. Um, and this time, we came locked in and focused on defense. And we only ended up losing by 17 points. So that was huge for us.
Yeah.
We even won a quarter. Like we were really excited about our growth and being able to play that team again. It
Yeah.
really
It's a big deal getting to play a team that you've seen before and being able to actually have an actual measurement of how far you've come.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just a testament to how hard the girls have worked. They've really bought into our defense over the month that since we've seen Western, and it really showed that it's starting to pay off and that we can compete with a lot of teams.
And who played well for you, Coach?
Yeah, absolutely. Mackenzie Farinella, she averaged 9 points per game over the 3 games. Just a like a great leader for us. Um, just our constant that plays hard every game, does what we need her to do. Additionally, Holland Wilson and Shelby Fernung both played amazing defense all weekend for us. Very proud of their efforts. And then additionally, Kennedy Lancaster brought us some really good energy over the 3 games. It's hard to play lots of games in a short amount of time, but she did a wonderful job of keeping her head right and helping the rest of the team get their energy up for us over the 3 games.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I hope you have a great new year and a very happy birthday, and we'll talk to you very soon. So nice of Coach Gillman to make some time for us on such a special day for her. To the Hoosier Heartland Conference, Sheridan is on top of the standings. The Blackhawks are 12-1 overall, 4-0, the only unbeaten team in the HHC. Rossville's 8-4 overall, 4-1 in conference. Clinton Central's 9-4, 2-2. Carroll 11-5, 2-2. Delphi 6-7, 2-2. And Tri Central 6-8, 2-2. Clinton Prairie is 6-7 overall, 3-3 in the conference. Eastern is 0-13 overall, 0-3 in conference, and Taylor is 2-12 overall and 0-4. Sheridan is 12-1 overall, 4-0 in the conference, and now the Sheridan Holiday Tournament champions. The Blackhawks defeated Seeger 68-46 in the semifinal. They shot 53% from the field, 5 for 10 from behind the 3-point line. They had 22 assists on 26 field goals and forced 24 turnovers and had 13 steals. Senior Kinsey Garner was 10 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from behind the 3-point line, and a perfect 3 for 3 at the foul line. She finished with 25 points, 9 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive end. Senior Shelby Eaton had 11 points. Senior Cecilia Timmy had 10 points. She was 4 for 4 at the line and had 5 assists. In the championship game, Sheridan beat Class 2A number 9 Eastern Hancock 57-36. It is Sheridan's first holiday tournament championship in the 6-year run of the tournament. Garner had 24 points. She made 5 of her 8 3-point attempts, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 block shots, and 2 steals. Senior Max Smith and Timmy had 8 points apiece. Senior Nova Cross had 6 points. Sophomore Brielle Garner finished with 5. And sophomore Sadie Timmy had 2 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. Next week, Sheridan is at 6-6 University on Wednesday, January 8th, and at home against 6-8 Tri Central on Friday, January 10th. Speaking of Tri Central, the Trojans finished fourth at the Sheridan tournament. They lost 62-37 to Eastern Hancock in the semifinal and 60-47 to Seeger in the consolation game. Tri Central hosts 7-5 Daleville on Friday. Eastern is 0-13 overall, 0-3 in conference. They lost 66-20 this week at Southern Wells. That was on Saturday. Senior Marley Cone had 4 points and 6 rebounds and 3 assists. Freshman Gianna Beachy scored 6 points. Freshman Lainey Newland and senior Kinsey Eagle had 4 points apiece. Eastern is at 6-9 Marion on Saturday. The next week they're at 2-11 Cowan on Tuesday and host 2-12 Taylor on Wednesday, January 8th. 2 very good chances for the Comets to get their first win of the year. Taylor is 2-12 overall, 0-4 in conference. They lost 57-35 at Pioneer on this Monday, in the first round of the Delphi Holiday Classic. That sets up a matchup with 10-4 North Montgomery on Friday at 11 a.m. in the consolation bracket at Delphi. The final round is Saturday versus 0-12 Frankfort or 4-9 North Newton. That's either Friday or Saturday. To the Hoosier Heritage Conference, Shelbyville is a surprise at the top of the standings. They are 7-7 overall, 3-0 in conference. The Golden Bears still have to play Yorktown, Mount Vernon, Delta, and Pendleton Heights. Unlikely that they stay on top. Pendleton Heights is in second place. They are 8-6 overall, 4-1 in conference. They have a big game at home against Shelbyville on January 28th. Mount Vernon is 12-4 overall, 2-1 in conference. Their only loss coming to Pendleton. Delta is 9-4 overall, 3-2 in the HHC. Greenfield Central 11-4, 2-2. Yorktown 8-5, 1-2. And New Pal 5-7, 1-4. Pendleton Heights didn't play last week. They are 8-6 overall and 4-1 in the conference. Their last game was a 69-50 win at Yorktown in a conference game on December 23rd. This week they are at 7-5 Jay County on Thursday. Delta didn't play last week either. They are 9-4 overall, 3-2 in conference. Their last game was a big 63-54 win at Greenfield Central. That was last week's win of the week. Next week they are at Blackford on Tuesday, January 7th. Blackford is 1-13. Yorktown is 8-5 overall, 1-2 in conference, and they are the Greenwood Holiday Tournament champions. They won 2 games on Saturday to win that championship. First, the Tigers beat Triton Central, also the Tigers, 62-44 in the semifinal. Junior Lily Sylvester had 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 steals. Freshman Riley Johnson had 12 points and 5 rebounds. Senior Claire Hazen contributed 10 points and 4 rebounds. And sophomore Maya Hargraves had 8 points, 9 rebounds. And sophomore Olivia Conklin finished with 9 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. In the championship game win over East Central, that was 42-31. Sylvester had 22 points, making 10 of her 18 field goal attempts with 10 rebounds and 4 steals. Conklin and Hargraves scored 7 points apiece. Hargraves also had 6 rebounds, and Johnson finished with 6 points. Yorktown, just like Pendleton Heights, their next game is against 7-5 Jay County. That is on Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m. And of course, we spoke to Yorktown head coach Leanne Bargy after the Tigers won their championship on Saturday. That's on Sunday's Girls Basketball Scoreboard, episode 132.2. Go listen to that one. In the North Central Conference, Richmond is on top of the standings. The Red Devils are 6-8 overall, 2-0 in conference, but they still have to play Marion, Kokomo, and Lafayette Jeff. Jeff is 10-3 overall, the other unbeaten team in the conference at 1-0. 3 of their final 4 NCC games are on the road. Kokomo is 10-5 overall, 2-1 in the conference. They have Richmond and Muncie Central left late in January on their conference slate. Muncie Central is 7-6 overall, 1-2 in conference. Marion 6-9, 1-2. Anderson is 1-14 overall, 1-3 in the conference. Kokomo is 10-5 overall, 2-1 in conference. The Wildcats finished fourth at a holiday tournament at Northeastern over the weekend. First, they got a big win over Fort Wayne 63-52 on Friday. Senior Michaela Drake had 21 points. She was 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from behind the three-point line, and made both of her free throw attempts. Junior Amara Stroman finished with 11 points. She was 3 for 6 from deep, with 6 rebounds, 3 block shots, and 2 assists. Junior Eliana Stewart, who we're going to hear from Coach Haley Peckinpaugh, was injured over the weekend, but in this one had 8 points and 7 rebounds, 4 on the offensive end, 4 steals, and 2 block shots, stuffing the stats as she often does. Senior Reagan McLean had 3 points and 8 rebounds. Sophomore Satira Scott had 4 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds. On Friday in the semifinal, Kokomo fell 61-55 to host Northeastern, which was unbeaten at the time. Drake finished with 22 points. She made 6 of her 10 three-point attempts. She also had 4 rebounds. Junior Amara Stroman had 9 points. She was 3 for 5 from behind the three-point line and made all 4 of her free throws with 4 assists. Scott finished with 7 points. They concluded the tournament with a 69-55 loss to Central Catholic on Saturday in the consolation game. Freshman Jordan Brown led the Wildcats with 12 points. Drake finished with 10 and Scott had 11. Senior Avi Pollard finished with 6 points and was 2 for 6 from behind the three-point line. Kokomo hosts 5-8 Frankton on Friday. Then next week they host 5-8 Northwestern on Thursday, and they're at 2-13 Logansport on Saturday. I spoke with Kokomo head coach Haley Peckinpaugh about the mixed results at Northeastern.
I thought we competed. The first game we played a really good Fort Wayne team, who I think was 8-4 going into our game. And we got a really good win there. In that game, one of our best players, Eliana Stewart, actually went down, and they thought she had a concussion, so she did not play the rest of the weekend, which kind of throws a wrench into things.
Yeah.
So we dropped our next two. One was to Northeastern, who was 15-0 when we played them. And then we dropped to Lafayette Central Catholic. And I definitely think in that Lafayette Central Catholic game, if we had Eliana, it could have been a little different.
And did you learn anything about your team during the weekend?
Yeah, we honestly, as a coaching staff, we really learned what we need to work on to, have a really good January, and get ready for the sectional. We definitely have 2 or 3 key points that we really need to dial in on here in the next, week or so before we play Frankton Friday, and just try to get better, at those things. And if we can do that, I think we have a really good shot of, being successful in 2025.
Well, Coach, we're about 4 hours from the new year. What do you hope to see from your team? Actually, really great 2024. Let's talk about that first. For your team, already to 10 wins. And then what do you hope to see from your team in 2025?
Yeah, being 10-5 going into 2025, it feels pretty good. I like there's a part of you as a coach that feels like, man, we should be like, 11-4 or 12-3. But like, you got to be happy with, the hard schedule we've had in the last month and how we've kind of got a couple really good wins. But also just going into 2025, we just need to grow up a little bit. We need to be a little mentally tougher. We need to, grow up in a few spots where we're young at. And I think that they're doing a really, really good job. I have a freshman who plays about 16 minutes a game, who absolutely balled out Saturday night. And it showed it just showed us coaches like, man, she's ready for those big minutes when she had to, take Eliana's minutes and play 25. And, it's just those little things that we just have to keep capitalizing on for us to be successful.
And those are the kinds of things that could help you in the long run.
100%, yeah, and, she's playing 16 minutes, which is already a ton for a freshman, but, it just showed us that, she can handle the big moment. So, and that's what we have to see from numerous different kids, just because, we need to have that depth to be able to compete the rest of the season and in our sectional. So,
Muncie Central didn't play last week and remains 7-6 overall, 1-2 in the NCC. Their last game was a 48-34 loss to Wapahani on December 23rd. The Bearcats face 8-5 Yorktown on the road in their next game, Tuesday, January 7th. Marion is 6-9 overall, 1-2 in the NCC. They finished 7th at the tournament at Richmond. First, they lost 60-44 to Connorsville on Friday. Freshman Naomi Hahn had 22 points. Freshman Jaylee Townsend had 9 points, and freshman Jamie Hardwick finished with 4. Then they lost 63-45 to Purdue Poly Inglewood on Saturday. A very good Purdue Poly team, by the way. Hahn finished with 20 points. Senior Shania Scott had 10, and senior Malia Gamble finished with 8. And then they concluded the tournament with a 77-39 win over Jacksonville on Saturday for 7th place. Hahn finished with 22 points, and Townsend had 9. The Giants host 0-13 Eastern on Saturday. Anderson is 1-14 overall, 1-3 in conference. They finished 4 at the Whiteland Invitational with a 72-43 loss to the host Warriors in the semifinal, then lost 65-57 to Tri-West in the consolation game. Anderson is at 9-3 Pike on Friday. Next week, they host 16-0 Alexandria in the first round of the Madison County Tournament, and then will face either 9-4 LaPel or 8-6 Pendleton Heights in the second round in a very tough road for the Indians. In the Mid-Eastern Conference, Class 2A, number 9 Eastern Hancock is on top of the standings. The Royals are 12-2 overall, 5-0 in the conference. They host Monroe Central on Saturday in a big conference game. Wapahani is 13-2, 6-1 in the MEAC. They have 2 tough ones left against Monroe Central and Shenandoah on the road. Monroe Central is 9-3 overall, 3-1 in conference. Randolph Southern 10-3, 4-2. Shenandoah 8-5, 3-2. Daleville 7-5, 3-3. Union 4-7, 2-3. Blue River Valley 3-9, 2-3. And West Dell is 0-14 overall, 0-8 in the conference. Wapahani is 13-2 overall, 6-1 in the conference. The Raiders were runners-up in the Oldenburg Academy Invitational on Saturday. They beat Cascade 59-49 in the semifinal round. Nice win over a good Cascade team. Then lost 45-30 to host Oldenburg Academy in the championship game. Wapahani is off until next week when they play Tuesday and Thursday. On Tuesday, January 7th, they go to 4-8 Eastbrook. On Thursday, January 9th, they're at home against 4-10 Newcastle. Daleville is 7-5 overall, 3-3 in the MEAC. Their last game was a 74-18 win at West Dell, their 4th win in the last 5 games. Daleville is at Tri Central on Friday. The Trojans are 6-8. Next week, they're at 11-3 Southern Wells on Tuesday, January 7th, and at home against 2-11 Cowan on Friday, January 10th. Cowan is 2-11 overall, 0-5 in the conference. Their last game was a 53-7 loss at Tri, their 3rd straight loss. They host 0-13 Eastern next Tuesday, January 7th. Then they're at 7-5 Daleville on Friday, January 10th. West Dell is 0-14 overall, 0-8 in the MEAC. They lost 61-11 against Shenandoah in their last game, December 23rd. They play on Saturday afternoon at 9-4 Union County. And next week, they play 5-7 Indiana Deaf on the road on Tuesday, January 7th. In the Pioneer North Division, University has clinched the division. They are 6-6 overall, 2-0 in the Pioneer North. Anderson Prep is 9-4 overall, 1-1 in conference. Burris is 1-11 overall, 0-2 in the conference. And Liberty Christian is 1-2 and not officially part of the conference because they are playing an incomplete schedule this year. In the Pioneer South Division, Shortridge has actually clinched the Pioneer South Division, so they'll be the top seed in the conference playoffs on January 17th and 18th. Park Tudor is second at 8-5 overall, 1-1 in the conference. Greenwood Christian is 1-13 overall, 1-2 in the conference. Their only win this season was over Bethesda Christian, which is 0-3 overall, 0-2 the Pioneer. Anderson Prep is having a great season. They're 9-4 overall, 1-1 in the Pioneer. They have not played since December 19th, and they beat Madison Grant 62-52. The Jets are next in the Madison County tournament. On Monday, January 6th, they go to 5-8 Frankton to look to pull off the upset. In the second round, they will either face 9-3 Elwood or 1-2 Liberty. Muncie Burris is 1-11 overall, 0-2 in the conference. They haven't played since December 14th. They won't play again until January 14th. Their last game was a 58-21 loss at Shenandoah. On December 14th, their next game is at Elwood on Tuesday, January 14th. The Panthers are 9-3. Liberty Christian is 1-2. Their last game was December 18th, a 64-37 loss at Knightstown. They will face 9-3 Elwood at Elwood in the opening round of the Madison County tournament on Monday, January 6th. And in the Three Rivers Conference, Whitco and Wabash are the unbeaten teams. Whitco's 8-2 overall, 4-0 in the Three Rivers. Wabash is 11-3, 3-0 in the conference. Rochester is 10-3 and 4-1. Cass 12-2, 3-1. Mechanical 9-5, 3-1. Northfield 7-6, 2-2. Peru 6-9, 1-5. Southwood is 3-10 overall, 0-3 in the Three Rivers, and Northwestern is 5-8 overall, 0-4 in conference. Northwestern won the Logansport Holiday Tournament over the weekend. They beat Wheeler 62-39 on Saturday in the first round to end a 3-game losing streak, then beat Logansport 46-20 to win the tournament championship. The Tigers they host 5-9 Manchester on Friday. So a chance to make it 2 in a row. Then next Thursday, they are at 10-5 Kokomo. Before we get to our weekly honors, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcasting hosting site so you don't miss a single segment. We are also now at YouTube. You can go subscribe there, set up alerts, and you will be alerted every time there's a new segment. This week, instead of 5 nominees for each award, we only have 3 because we had a lot fewer games. The honors and nominees are dominated by a couple of different teams. Sorry about the repetition. Again, not a lot of teams played this week. Didn't have a ton of options. We will try to keep from being repetitive in the future. All right, our win of the week nominees in alphabetical order. Alexandria's 64-63 double overtime win over Charlestown in the semifinal round at the Richmond Holiday Tournament. After beating Wheeler 62-39 to end a 3-game losing streak, Northwestern beat host Logansport 46-20 to win the Logansport Holiday Tournament. And Sheridan defeated Class 2A number 9 Eastern Hancock 57-36 in the Sheridan Holiday Tournament Championship. And the Central Indiana Sports Report win of the week belongs to the Alexandria Tigers, beating Charlestown 64-63 in double overtime in Richmond. Our nominees for Performance of the Week in alphabetical order. Hamilton Heights senior Katie Brown had 19 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block shot in the Huskies' 61-58 win over Waldron. And the consolation game of the Waldron tournament, Sheridan senior Kinsey Garner had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 block shots, and 2 steals, and a 57-36 win over Eastern Hancock in the championship game of the Sheridan Holiday Tournament. Alexandria senior Jacqueline Hoosier finished with 33 points, going 12 for 14 from the field, 6 for 7 from behind the 3-point line, 3 for 4 at the foul line, with 12 rebounds, 7 assists, and 6 steals in Alexandria's 87-29 win over Jacksonville in the opening round of the holiday tournament at Richmond. She was named the tournament MVP. She also had the Central Indiana Sports Report Performance of the Week. Our nominees for the Central Indiana Sports Report Girls Basketball Coach of the Week. Leanne Bargey's Yorktown Tigers beat Triton Central 62-44 and East Central 42-31 to win the Greenwood Holiday Tournament Championship. Sheridan head coach Jadlyn Bradshaw coached the Blackhawks to wins over Seeger and Eastern Hancock to win the Sheridan Holiday Tournament Championship. And Northwestern head coach Wendy Gatlin led the Tigers to wins over Wheeler and the host Berries to win the Logansport Holiday Tournament. And the Central Indiana Sports Report Girls Basketball Coach of the Week is Yorktown head coach Leanne Bargey, who led Yorktown to the Greenwood Holiday Tournament Championship. The nominees for Girls Basketball Player of the Week, no surprises here. In alphabetical order, Sheridan senior Kinsey Garner scored 49 points. She made 18 of her 35 field goal attempts. She was 7 for 11 behind the 3-point arc, 6 for 7 at the foul line. She had 22 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 block shots, 4 steals, and led the Blackhawks to the Sheridan Invitational Championship with wins over Seeger and Eastern Hancock. Alexandria senior Jacqueline Hoosier scored 76 points. She was 25 for 49 from the field, 8 for 15 from deep, 19 for 27 at the free throw line. She had 28 rebounds, 18 assists, 15 steals, and wins over Jacksonville, Charlestown, and Richmond in the Richmond Holiday Invitational. And Yorktown junior Lily Sylvester scored 43 points with a pair of 20-plus point games with 20 rebounds, 7 steals, and 3 assists in wins over Tri-Central and East Central in the Greenwood Holiday Tournament. And the Central Indiana Sports Report Girls Basketball Player of the Week is Sheridan senior Kinsey Garner, who had another huge week in the Blackhawks championship at their own invitational. And the Central Indiana Sports Report Team of the Week nominees in alphabetical order. Alexandria won the 8-team Richmond Holiday Tournament by beating Jacksonville, Charlestown, and the host Red Devils. Sheridan beat Seeger and Class 2A number 9 Eastern Hancock to win the Sheridan Holiday Tournament for the first time since they've hosted it in the last 6 years. And the Yorktown Tigers beat Triton Central and East Central to win the Greenwood Holiday Tournament. The Central Indiana Sports Report Team of the Week is the Sheridan Blackhawks, winners of the Sheridan Holiday Tournament. Before we get to our top 20 power poll, please help us spread the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report by sending this episode to someone you think would be interested in listening to it. We really appreciate all the help we get in spreading the word about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you so much. To the Central Indiana Sports Report Top 20 Power Poll for the date ending December 30th, 2024, our final Power Poll of 2024. 2 teams just outside of the top 20, 1-14 Anderson and 9-4 Anderson Prep, That's because there are two new teams in the Power Poll this week who had successful weeks. Coming in at number 20 is one of those teams, and that is 5-8 Northwestern. Northwestern won the Logansport Holiday Tournament. Tri Central dropped a pair of games and dropped from number 18 to number 19. Western is 3-11. They fell a spot from number 17 to number 18. They did, however, end their 9-game losing streak with a win over Tipton on Saturday. Mississinawa dropped from 16 to 17 through no fault of their own. That's because Hamilton Heights has won 4 of its last 6 games and moved into the Power Poll for the first time this year at 4-11. They are number 16. The next 8 teams are exactly where they were last week. Daleville is number 15. They are 7-5. Elwood is 9-3 and it's at number 14. Eastbrook is 4-8, is at number 13. Frankton is 5-8 and is number 12. Muncie Central is 7-6 and is still number 11. Marion is 6-9 and stays at number 10. Delta is 9-4 and is still at number 9. Yorktown is 8-5 and is standing at number 8. They didn't move up at all despite winning the Greenwood Holiday Tournament, which says a lot about our top 7. Wapahani is 13-2. They dropped 2 spots from number 5 to number 7, really through no fault of their own. Kokomo moved up 1 spot after finishing 4th against a tough field at Northeastern. Lapel moves from number 6 to number 5. They've won 5 games in a row. Sheridan stays at number 4. They are 12-1. They've won 10 in a row, their second straight year with a double-digit winning streak. Oak Hill is number 3. They stay at number 3. They are 12-1 overall. Pendleton Heights stays at number 2. They're 8-6. And staying at number 1 is the 16-0 Alexandria Tigers, cementing their spot at number 1 with a championship at Richmond. But they will be putting that number 1 spot on the line next week when they will face either Pendleton Heights or Lapel in the second round of the Madison County Tournament. Thank you to Tipton head coach Lela Gillman and Kokomo head coach Haley Peckinpaugh for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report. And thanks to everyone for listening. I sincerely hope 2025 is the best year for every single one of you. It is without question going to be the best year ever for us. It's just going to keep getting better. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.